I need to make a follow-up video regarding what happened yesterday. So I'm going to read you Brent's letter uh, that he sent me last night. Dearest Gail, with much thanks to your last video and the loyal participation of our followers, thousands of Black men have lined up at Church of Gail to take paternity tests to determine if they are the father of Urethra's baby. To hasten this process, we use Church of Gail technology to invent a scanner that instantly performs DNA reads as soon as each eligible man enters the room. I have also called my old friend Maury Povich, who has had decades of experience in finding the fathers for illegitimate Black babies. As each man enters the room, the DNA scanners compare his genes to little Urethra McPizzle. The computer then delivers a paper printout of the results, and Maury reads the results out loud for the room. I lie here still on my back as Urethra makes her way around the circle. With her powerful quaking thunder thighs, she squats over each man, her bladder loaded. At the top of the hour, every hour, she pees in another man's mouth as promised. So far, none has received the deadly kidney stone bullet, but I fear with every passing tick of the clock that we may be 1 second closer to losing one of our men. I pray that it won't be me. The doors opened. Another Black man stepped through the scanner. The computer's whirred from his chair on the other side of the room. Maury removed the paper printout of the results. When it comes to 1 month old Quetheta Fo Rizzle McPizzle Germain, you are not the father. The young man, who I presume was the Germain in question, hollered with victory and began to dance as the overhead stereos blared Germain's choice of theme song. Like clockwork, Urethra lowered her girth and squatted down over Trey Songs, who began crying. Sweating, straining, Urethra sang to herself under her breath, mocking Trey Songs as she vulgarly parodized one of his own music tracks. Sometimes she call me Trigger 'cause I make her potty burn. They might think my name is Oh Shit! And like a shower head on full blast, foul-smelling urine sprayed into his mouth until he gagged. Urethra removed herself and moved on to the next man. Trey Song sobbed quietly before realizing with relief he had survived. He smiled, enjoying his now rock-hard erection as consolation for his near-death experience. Hours went by, and it seemed like the torture was endless. The next victim, Will Smith, took it the worst. Too white to enjoy water sports, he seemed to suffer the most psychologically. I watched in horrified schadenfreude as Urethra peed all the color out of Big Willie's mortified face. As Urethra unmounted his mouth, he only continued to stare wide-eyed at the ceiling, dead inside. I could tell by the look in his eyes that all he could do was keep replaying the scene over and over in his head. Ever since that moment, he has been muttering to himself over and over like a broken record. See, what had happened was, see, what had happened was. He still hasn't stopped. R. Kelly was next. He was the only Black man other than Will Smith that seemed particularly disturbed. Now, listen, Urethra, this ain't right. A woman shouldn't be peeing on a man. Wait until your daughter turns about 14, and I will pee on her myself like a right man should. I don't mean you no disrespect, Urethra. There was no stopping Urethra, who mercilessly lowered herself onto R. Kelly's face while singing Dave Chappelle's parody of one of R. Kelly's songs. She sang, I'ma give you some poo-poo. I'ma give you some pee-pee. I'ma give you some doo-doo. I'ma give you some wee-wee. As R. Kelly's mouth was filled with urine, he coughed and sputtered beneath the wet drizzle. Urethra dismounted and went to refill her empty tank on another gallon of orange soda. Maury Povich approached Urethra, putting a gentle hand on her shoulder and speaking in a fatherly tone. Urethra, we've tested thousands of men. Now, I've been doing this for a long time, and I think we're going about this all the wrong way. Your daughter is white, and there is no way the father could be a black man. What? Urethra yelled haughtily in defiance. My baby ain't no white baby. That baby is as white as I am, Urethra. Urethra held up a finger, telling off Mari cattily. My baby has a fair complexion, just like her great-grandma's half-niece. It runs into family. It runs into family. Don't you think we should? Mari offered gently. Urethra only continued to yell and caw, becoming so ebonically enraged I couldn't even understand what she was saying anymore. She flamboyantly wagged her big she-boonie arms around with her half-empty gallon of orange soda and ordered Mari to sit back down. The paternity test continued. It didn't appear as if we were any closer to finding Queefetta's baby daddy. I'm not one to take facial urination lying down, so I had a secret weapon up my sleeve. Using my laptop, I had begun messaging my loyal old pal, Levar Burton. Many years ago, my best friend Levar had saved me from the clutches of Laurie McBride, and I knew he could save us all from Urethra. Levar, I typed, are you there? Where are you? Brent, he replied after what seemed like an eternity. I'm at home in L.A., just checking my stock portfolio and managing my investments. I've built up quite the nest egg. What's going on? Levar, this is an emergency. We're being held hostage on Church of Gail. Wow, Brent, that sounds like a conundrum. What do you need me to do? Don't you have a few Glocks or something stashed away? A firearm? Gosh, no, Brent. I have a home security system and live in a gated community with an HOA and a neighborhood watch. Besides, I have a good relationship with local law enforcement if I ever needed help. Levar, this woman is a maniac. You'll need something. What is she doing, if I may ask? I turned my side to the side to see which man in the circle Urethra had made her way up to. She was now pulling a smoking blunt out from between Snoop Dogg's lips. Snoop, with a doped-up smile on his angelically calm face, opened his mouth willingly in Zen. Levar, she's peeing on everyone. Every man here is getting a mouthful of urine. She has a kidney stone the size of a .40 caliber bullet, and when that stone passes, someone isn't just going to get peed on, they're going to get shot in the face. Snoop Dogg allowed himself a mouthful of urine to be poured from Urethra, an unchanging smile on his face. Once finished, Urethra delicately closed his bottom jar with her fat, colorfully clawed fingers and replaced the blunt. Oh no! That's so disgusting, Brent, I almost gagged on the French vanilla latte I'm drinking. Well, just get over here and knock her out like you did Laurie McBride. She's going to kill us. Okay, Brent, hang tight. I will be there right away. I sighed with both relief and worried impatience. Hour by hour, Urethra had slowly made her way around the circle closer towards me. Only one man remained in line ahead of me now, and she was already squatting over him. 50 Cent, who always requested to be called Fitty, stared up into Urethra's gaping vaginal maw with quelled suspense. Our faces were mere inches from each other, allowing me the unfortunate close-up view of my own impending fate. The clock was ticking, and Urethra's bulging black eyes watched every second. Sweat beaded down her taut forehead. Her wet pink tongue slid out like a grub to lick her fat lips, neatly coated in glittery purple lipstick. She's dropping bombs and making me sneeze. Oh, that's terrible, that Laurie McBride. She kept me up all last night, too, with those bombs. The door to the room flew open. I expected it to be none other than the next man arriving to take a paternity test. To my excitement and relief, it was Levar. Brent, I came, Levar announced, breathing heavily and sweating. Time's up, Urethra bellowed as the clock struck the next top of the hour. I heard the hard, wet sound of urine pattering down from the fleshy black vaginal caverns of Urethra McPizzle. The urination seemed like it lasted forever. Urethra was peeing and peeing and peeing. Then she began grunting. By the sounds of it, I first thought she was going to burp or fart, but as I watched her eyes widen into saucers, I knew that something was happening inside her. Something was becoming dislodged, something the size of a .40 caliber bullet. No! Boom! Everything seemed to trickle down into slow motion as the kidney stone bullet burst from Urethra's swollen urinary chute and blew the back of Fiddy's skull. Sweat, saliva, brains, urine, blood, and pieces of skull shattered in all directions onto my own face and into my own screaming mouth. Fiddy's head fell back, urine leaking from the corners of his lips. He was dead. My heart pounding, I knew I had only been one man away from that being me. I made the sign of the cross over my body and quietly prayed. May you be with Tupac and Jude Law, Fiddy, drinking margaritas on the beach in heaven. The computer whirred as the scanners automatically scanned Levar. The grinding sounds of the printer was the only noise that filled the now somber room, and the printout was deposited neatly in the tray beside Mari. Mari dutifully retrieved it and read, "In regards to 1-month-old baby Quifetta, Levar, you are the father." The entire audience of men in the room erupted with a mixture of cheering and hollering. Urethra whooped loudly and began to twerk. Confetti dropped from the ceiling as the stereos blasted her victory song. She stomped over to Mari, greedily snatching the test results out of his hand as though it were a wad of $100 bills, and proceeded to run around the room, wailing with victory and dancing like a stripper. "What?" Laurie snapped his head around to Mari with shock, nearly falling to his knees. "How?" Hugh Jackman exclaimed, lifting his urine-soaked head from the floor. "Mari, that baby is white. You said so yourself. How can Levar be the father?" As the whole situation sunk in, my mind began to race. It was then that it all hit me. "It's simple, really," I explained. "I don't know why I didn't think of it before. I suppose because it's so rare." What is rare?" Levar asked. "Haven't any of you men studied epigenetics?" "I'm confused," Hugh replied. "Basically, when a black man starts acting too white, it begins to change his DNA. For example, every time a black man makes a bill payment on time, cashes a check made from honest employment, or spends time with his biological children, it begins to alter the very nature of his chromosomes. Over time, his DNA can become so altered that his babies will be born white." "I see," Hugh replied, letting it all sink in. "So that's why black men get all defensive about acting too white. It's because if they do, it would mean racial genocide. All their babies would be born white, and the black race would go extinct." "Exactly," I said. I turned my head to Levar, concerned for him. "But Levar, did you sleep with Urethra McPizzle?" "Gosh, I don't know, Brent," Levar replied sincerely, scratching his head. "You don't know? You wouldn't remember." "Well," he explained, "every year the local Popeyes has a Black History Month special. 50% off all menu prices. When I drive by, I just feel this pulling inside me, Brent. The best way I can describe it is like, you know how Galapagos turtles return to the same island every year to mate? No matter where they are, they all get the same urge at the exact same time to return to the exact same island. The turtles don't know why or what they're doing. They just feel compelled. It's Mother Nature calling them deep inside. That's how I felt, Brent. I stopped at the Popeyes earlier this year. I felt like I really needed to go to the restroom, and the next thing I know, I blacked out." "You blacked out?" "Yeah, I just blacked out. Levar, if you had sex with Urethra McPizzle while you were blacking out in the Popeyes bathroom, that means you could have fathered her baby." "I'm really a father?" Levar asked, a tiny spark of pride in his voice. Urethra lurched over. "Don't be getting no ideas, you cracker-ass Oreo motherfucker." Levar was undeterred. "I will gladly help raise our daughter, Urethra. I'm a responsible man, and I—" "Ha! I ain't letting you see your daughter. If you start being all up in her life and the courts know that, I don't get no child support checks. And that be a shame too, because I ain't expect this baby daddy to be making millions like you do. I be rich. Levar's stomach turned as he gazed upon the heaping black urethra, who began whooping and twerking once more. Brent, Levar bemoaned, unflinching as urethra bent over in front of him and twerked against his crotch. This is awful. I'm so ashamed. My daughter, my nest egg. Everything has gone to hell in a handbasket, Brent. What do I do? Run, I told him. Run away? This doesn't feel right. My daughter. Run, I repeated. Trust me on this one. Run back home, and I'll be in touch on what you need to do next. Don't have any contact with urethra. Okay, I trust you, Brent. I don't run as fast now, though, ever since I started making all this money from my stable job. Unless I see a spider in my house or something, then I just lose it. It's crazy. That doesn't matter. Just run as fast as you can. We'll make this better. I'll be online later, I paused, realizing I was so concerned with helping my best friend that I had forgotten about myself. But first, untie me from this rope, please. Sure thing, buddy. With great relief and some residual unease for Levar Burton and profound grief for our dear fellow man, 50 Cent, I am otherwise happy to report that myself and the rest of our men are free from our entanglements and safe. We will be holding a memorial service for Fiddy on the Church of Gail. I will keep you updated on our friend Levar. With my medical and legal expertise, I am confident that I can keep Levar from unfairly owing urethra any child support. Thank you so much for your love and support, my dear. I am so lucky to have such an awesome and beautiful wife. Your husband, Brent Spiner. We were watching, in place of movie night at my Patreon, we were dealing with this emergency that we had, and we wanted to make sure that all my patrons were safe. One of them, I would say a couple of them got captured, and they were among the men that urethra urinated on. And it looks like they all survived, but I'm sure they were very traumatized, and Brent Spiner was treating them in the clinic. It looks like she only killed the one, but that's bad. But I would also like to report she also murdered Sean Connery early in the year, and I didn't know about Jude Law and this other person. So apparently she's been on I don't know who murdered them, but I do know that urethra did murder Sean Connery earlier. You know, I went in a big discussion with my men about how we can prevent stuff like this from happening again. And on August the 5th, I wrote a conspiracy law update redefining what is a Laurie McBride Jesuit. And under that conspiracy law, it is anybody who is a Satan worshiper. And I defined a Satan worshiper basically as somebody who is willing to kill for love, sex, or power, and who would be willing to worship Satan if Satan offered them. In other words, Satan offered to give them the world for those reasons. That's basically Satan worshiper. I will have a link to my latest updates to my conspiracy law. But I really feel that if Donald Trump had made an executive order ordering that my conspiracy law been enforced, we could have stopped Urethra McPizzle from murdering my men and from this incident, and this incident never would have happened. She would have been taken out as a Satan worshiper. You might say, but she's not a Laurie McBride Jesuit or a Satan worshiper. Well, you got to go by my definition of what is a Laurie McBride Jesuit or a Satan worshiper. Right now, a Laurie McBride Jesuit is defined as anybody who has the heart of a Satan worshiper. And basically, Satan worshipers will kill for money, sex, or power. So if you've got that kind of a heart, and we can determine that by brain scans, you will be taken out. Yeah, we're not going to tolerate that. Satan is, now that he's lost Zach Knight as Antichrist, he keeps moving from one Antichrist to another. So even if we did manage to take out Laurie McBride, Satan would just move to a new target. So the only way we're going to solve all these injustices is that Satan worshipers need to be taken out. I'll have a link to my latest video, but I have made an executive order ordering our military And Rule 13, along with Sergei Shoigu, are in charge, and I am the US president. Donald Trump failed you as president because he should have made an executive order that all of my conspiracy law be enforced, and he should have ordered the military to do it. I will say he was hung up for most of his presidency because his wife Melania was evil and she prevented him from exercising his role as president. But actually, I was the one who became president in 2016. That we gave it back to Trump when we thought he was dead, and then we gave it back to him. But I am officially the U.S. president, and I make it an executive order. I'm going to have a link to my latest conspiracy law updates, and I sent my men an email about this. That I have good law on the books. The problem is it has not been enforced. If my conspiracy law was enforced, all of the social media giants would be regulated. The news media would be ordered to tell the truth about the coronavirus and the yeast bombs being dropped. And if not, we take them over. Yeah, that's been my law. Now, if Trump was obsessed with enforcing my law as he was with winning the election, he would have won the election. The reason he would have won the election is because there wouldn't be enough Laurie McBride Jesuits or Satan worshipers alive to vote. And the news would have been reporting the truth about COVID-19. Because I actually wrote laws saying the death certificates need to be accurate. And if somebody claims a COVID death when really the primary cause of death was something else, that's death penalty. And so the news would be reporting accurately, and we wouldn't be having these lockdowns and all these other crazy requirements. So what I'm going to do is have a link to my latest updates in conspiracy law. And you're welcome to study them. But I now make an executive order that we use our military to enforce my conspiracy law, starting with the latest updates and working back. And obviously, if any of the later laws seem to contradict an earlier law, the later law would override or modify the earlier law. Because I started writing conspiracy law in 2003, 2004, 2003, 2004, right about there. And it's all at my website. Donald Trump failed you as president because he should have enforced conspiracy law. Even though he actually did win the election, but he could have won the election in mainstream news if he was enforcing my conspiracy law. He was too concerned about losing the election. That's why he went along with Laurie McBride's coronavirus nonsense and all this other stuff. So, but the good news is I'm the president. And I'm going to make sure my law is enforced. And this country will go on a better track. So, yeah. Urethra McPizzle is considered a Laurie McBride Jesuit under my conspiracy law. And Laurie McBride Jesuits under my law are to be executed. She should have been executed August 5th when I redefined what is a Laurie McBride Jesuit. And if so, we could have saved Sean Connery's life and 50 Cent's life. And probably a bunch of other people she's murdered that we don't even know about. I bet there's some others. And there are other. Satan is moving on to a new strategy. It's really sad. It appears one of my Patreon supporters totally dropped my Patreon support, and I suspect that Urethra may have threatened him, saying, if you don't drop your Patreon support, I'm going to kill you. Yeah, I actually need that to pay my rent, but I know Jesus will take care of me. And I'm very busy working on Silver Sky's 1996 version, and it's going to be a very good book. It's going to be based on my life. But anyways, that's it. The main focus of this video is to let you all know what happened. And I normally, for my Patreon supporters, I normally let them see it first, and then I post 24 hours public. But this one I'm going to make public right away because the public needs to know what happened. But I make an executive order that my conspiracy law is to be enforced, starting with the latest laws and working back, and hopefully we can prevent an incident like this from happening ever again. I forgot to mention one thing. I was wondering, how did Urethra McPizzle get on the spaceship? She apparently used our retards. We have retards that we use as helpers on the ship, and she bribed them with extra food and goodies and treats, and they basically were following orders from her, and that's how she got on. The retards are very, very strong. Actually, and I forgot to mention this, while the men were being peed on, I called Rule 13 to come back from her mission, and I instructed her to explode the penises of these retards, because they were so strong that they overcame all my men, and there were so many of them that they tied them all up in a cocoon. And so Rule 13 at 8:30 last night did explode their penises, but it didn't even faze them. So Zach Knight came in with a machine gun, and I'm not exactly sure what happened, but he said he had to leave. It didn't even faze them to try to rescue my men. It appears what saved the day was Levar Burton being the father, and then she left. So, yeah. But, you know, she shouldn't have done that. She shouldn't have done that. Under my conspiracy law, Urethra McPizzle is a Laurie McBride Jesuit. She's considered a Satan worshiper. A Satan worshiper is defined as anyone who would kill for money, sex, or power. And under my law, they are to be executed. You can't have a world where peace and honor and righteousness reigns when people like that are allowed to live. You just can't have it. That's why during Christ's millennial reign, he will be taking out people like that. The Bible says he's going to rule with a rod of iron. Thanks again to my patrons. Your support and encouragement has really helped me in our fight for true love against the evil Jesuit order. I'm really happy to have such awesome friends, and I really like hanging out with you guys on our movie nights. So thank you so much to my Patreon supporters. This is a shirt that Zach Knight sent me for Halloween present. And here's my corkboard. When you send me stuff at my P.O. box and cards, I'm going to put it right up here, and you'll see it on the back of all my videos.
Gail, Gail, Gail.